Presentations right after lunch. It's going to be a tough one, at least for me, but maybe for you as well. Okay, so I'm going to correct you just a little bit. It's going to be a very censored presentation about championing impactful change because I just can't share it all. But I will try to share as much as I can. I will tell you about the journey, hopefully in about 20, 30 minutes, and maybe leave a couple of minutes afterwards so that you can just ask me anything. Then I might share some things. So as you might have seen, my name is Milos Đekic. I'm VP of Product Management at PS PDF Kit. Bravo for pronouncing that. I always crack a joke when I hire people, or I interview people that other executives are hiring from the company. I always ask them, just pronounce the name of the company, please, just to see how committed you are. And trust me, even native English speakers actually have a challenge here. So let's start. PS PDF Kit. The best way I can describe PS PDF Kit, I'll say it again, PS PDF Kit, is we are a document company. We are a document company for engineers, citizen developers, low-code developers, people who develop applications, software from scratch. They do it in an existing framework, et cetera, but the main point is their software does something with documents. For example, if you have a Dropbox application on your phone right now and you open it up, you open a PDF, that's our technology. So we pretty much build SDKs and some low-code solutions and some workflow automation solutions. You can now probably imagine the challenge of being a product manager in a company where you don't get to see the end user. Just again, I, as a product manager, do not see, hear, can't speak to the end user. So here's how a journey of a product org looks like. This is a very imperfect journey of a very imperfect product org. I split it into a couple of these phases. Genesis, how we materials out of thin air. Yes, out of thin air. The from is a quote. I'll talk about that in a sec. How we asserted ourselves as a product team into a company that has operated for 8 years without a product function, like a formal product function. How we reached predictability, which is kind of the basis of making evolution in a company. How we enabled the rest of the org and what the results of that were. We are currently in this consolidation phase where we are reaffirming what our role is, what our impact is, and we are galloping towards this integrity stage, which is where we actually want to be, the kind of product org that we want to be. So here's the Genesis phase. Again, why from thin air? It's actually a quote from a colleague of mine after a product survey that we did, like an internal survey about product org. What do you think about product org? How good are we? And I remember her saying, I'm in awe for the fact that you materialized from thin air, right? And it came with a little bit of, I also kind of hate you because you made some changes that were hard for me, right? But that's fine, that's what feedback is for. So let's briefly talk about why product management at PS PDF Kit. As late as 2011, Peter Steinberg, who is the main culprit for PS in PS PDF Kit, creates this really, really amazing iOS SDK. So that's a thing that people grab and build a PDF viewer in their application and annotate, markup, edit, print, whatever people want to do with PDFs, right? This was the first SDK that the company built. Many products later, many years later, comes the Web SDK, which is, the JavaScript web development thing that everybody wants because it makes sense that it's our most grossing product today and the most important one if you look at it like that from that particular perspective. And then in 2021 come Insight Partners. Insight Partners is probably one of the 3, 4, 5 top companies in the world that you want to invest in your tech startup. And PS PDF Kit becomes a sort of a scale-up. Between 2021 and 2022, a couple of acquisitions happen, and this company becomes a conglomerate of around 3, 4 companies, right? So you can imagine a company growing from 20, 40, 60, 150 employees today, right? At that time, 2022, there were around 110 employees. So the company grew very, very fast. Thus, the need to introduce a professional product organization. Why would you need a professional product organization? This was the exact thesis that I have presented in 2022 in Lisbon on a company retreat. We want to serve more customers. Up, business goal, check. So we want to grow, right? Grow the business. But the way we are going to go about that is we want to create these balanced products, right? That have roadmaps that can be managed, that are informed by all stakeholders. Everybody has a say. Everybody knows everybody knows what's going on, right? In an environment where communication can happen, an environment in which communication can happen needs to be very transparent, very organized, if you will. At the end of the day, another prerequisite for all of that is that we have a centralized way of looking at things. So, off we go. PSP Dev hires a product manager, this guy. So how does a product manager see PSP Dev in July 2022? Okay, I don't see the end user. I'll live with that. Communication, there's Basecamp, there's GitHub, there's Google Docs, Google Sheets, anything you can imagine, everywhere. Everybody has their own thing, right? Knowledge, as you can imagine, so many tools, no single source of truth. Okay, process, there is a product process. How the hell would you make anything without a product process? But it's not formal. It's unclear how communication happens. It's unclear how features happen. Roadmaps absolutely exist, but from my perspective, they look like wishful thinking more than something that you can actually execute on. Visibility, pretty much have no clue what's happening in certain parts of the org. And there's product board. I'll pay close attention to product board in this presentation. So first challenge is, it appears to me as a product manager that these products just grow and scale on inertia. What's good about PSP Dev Kit? It has product market fit. So it could have operated without the product org for God knows how long. It's just the problem of scale that we need to think about here for a second. But there's a strong need to innovate. There's so many ideas, so many heuristics that drive this innovation, but it all looks like inertia. And they really appear, I can't manage this. Knowledge is scattered. Like, how do I build a roadmap? How do I prioritize? Like, there's nothing formal that you can latch onto and figure this out. So let's talk about how we solve these challenges. This was product board when I came to PSP Dev Kit. There's a lot of insights, a lot of features, and a lot of communication next to everything else, all the other tools that contain the same communication. A little bit complex, if you will. But let's talk about the first solution. To solve communication, I needed to be present in all these conversations. That was very, very complicated, but you need to permeate all these conversations and understand what's going on. Kind of do a mental snapshot of what the hell is going on. How does this inertia of scale actually look like? Then introduce a single source of truth. You'll see how I did that. Implement an actual product process. I called it feature lifecycle. Do a snapshot of the roadmap, quarter by quarter, classic time-based, but without, specific lengths of initiatives. Just put them in quarters, like pins. Introduce Notion. Many people in the org today consider this a big no-no. They literally hate Notion. I know this because they wrote, I hate Notion like 15 times in my product survey. But I love it because, and then I consider that my first big win in the company. We get Notion. You'll see why Notion is important. And product board was a mess. This was product board. That mess needed to be solved. Somebody needed to take ownership. And I knew instinctively, the second I saw it, why nobody did that in the past. It was just too big of a mess. There's just too many things inside. So what do? There we go. See this. See the second screenshot over there, starting from the left. That's just the products. So 20 plus products in the company. And then the next thing is just one internal product, like bunch of features, and then crazy amount of insights and whatnot. All these products are interlinked. God, when I'm going to talk with the customer, I need to figure things out. Like I need to figure out how do we even run, right? And of course we do. 8 years of freaking growth. But feature lifecycle. Feature lifecycle, just formalizing how are things supposed to happen, how the sausage is supposed to be made is kind of a basis for us to establish actual communication, right? Boom. First 3 months of a product org, one-man show, we get buy-in from the stakeholders. Why? Because what they saw is, this was not how product board looked like, that second screenshot. This is not how product board looked like in the beginning. This is how it looked like when I was done with it. So how did I use that? I used that process to onboard myself to understand the products. Because this is a technical product. We're talking about SDKs. Pretty much every nuance feature, like ability to rotate a certain type of an annotation in a PDF, it's actually very important to understand that. How does pagination work in a PDF? Crazy. You have to learn to speak their language even before you can talk to a customer. So, okay, done. And I get buy-in. Buy-in means we kind of want you in our conversations. You are starting to bring some insights because you're figuring things out. Boom, we get product org 1.0, which means we get, I get a mandate to hire 3 product managers. And we have a software development lifecycle. Engineering was looking at the feature lifecycle. They were building their own thing. We merged this, and suddenly we have a clear formal process in how the sausage is made. Win. Moving on. We get 3 product managers. Okay. Kind of know what's going on, kind of have these snapshots of things, kind of understand the product, we can now speak the language, but there's 3 more people that need to learn to speak this language, get themselves asserted into all these teams. How do we do that? Well, the first thing we do is we make sure we are very clear about what product management here is and what it isn't. If you don't define product management in your company, expectations are going to vary from person to person, from department to department. So we needed to nail that. We made it very, very clear. We get alignment with stakeholders. Moving on. Teams. There's like 7, 8 teams right now. There was around 5, 6 when this was happening. There's a lot of teams. They all operate in different ways. These product managers, we don't have these classic product teams. You have a product manager and a designer and 3 devs. Nope. It's like a bunch of teams, 1 PM, with multiple teams and a gazillion products. So we need to figure out how to work with these teams. We needed continuity. So we figured out this SDLC, this process, all of this, but like somebody needs to execute this now, right? We organized product board and we figured out how to look at insights, blah, blah, then somebody needs to execute on it. Continuity is really important. And then we need to solve product board because I loved product board. It was like paramount for me. Like it was such an important ingredient for my onboarding to PSPDF kit. But then I overgrew it. We overgrew it as a product org as well. It just wouldn't do what we needed it to do. And then the first thing we need to figure out is in our little feature factory, and I tell you this very, very seriously, do not underestimate the feature factory. Feature factory is not always bad. Feature factory is an evolution step. Super important. So we need to figure out how to freaking have a prioritized backlog in this feature factory. Cool. Define purpose, easy. This is just a snapshot. This is actually how this was defined at PSPDF Kit. So kind of simple, right? Deliver a bunch of new stuff. It costs us this much. We get more. Between that, there's profit. Kind of cool, right? But we also kind of wanted to innovate. You know, we wanted to change the document. You know, there's a vision here after all. Even though it maybe didn't seem like that when I came. There's always vision, there's always strategy. It might not be written down, but there is one. Teams, every team did their own thing. These are my actual product managers and these are their actual words. I might have run it through ChatGPT, so it's better English, but they did say something like this, right? It's like, what is leadership by influence? How do you lead by influence? Because when you're in a situation where you can't apply traditional product management, Silicon Valley stuff, what do? You go back to basics. What are the basics? Basics, know the customer, know the market, know your tech very well. This is where we all started. So we were asking a lot of questions. And then at some point, we started giving some answers, giving some insights, started talking about some data. Hey, if we build this, looks like there's an addressable market there, et cetera, et cetera. Boof, assertion. Continuity. Well, this is something where I don't I mean, I invested so much time into building these onboarding guides for product managers. I do not regret a single minute spent there, because we, out of thin air, we built all these structures and process and feature equals outcome and all of that. But like, in order for somebody to execute on that, you really need to onboard them. And I am not a person who likes to onboard people for 6 months. So it's unacceptable to me. So I needed to do it in a month. How do you get a product manager in such a complicated space with gazillion products? How to get them up and running in a month? You build a freakishly good onboarding guide, and you innovate that onboarding guide, because that's your documentation. I love that. If somebody wants to see it, ping me after the presentation. I'll show it to you. Product board. Oh, love and hate. Really thankful. It really helped a lot. But then we overgrew it. The first thing we did is we created the structure in Notion and automatically migrated all the insights. There were more than this. This is a bunch of deleted insights, but this is what was there when we started the migration. Almost 3,000 insights. Poof, migrate. Robert wrote the code. Robert ran the code. It was all in Notion. But then, this is how an insight actually looked like in product board. Hey, customer, I don't know, sentiment, that wasn't used. Hello, I need button in the right corner. This is your SDK version of I need a button in the corner, right? And it needs to be blue. And when I click it, the message pops up. Why? What's the freaking use case? What are you trying to achieve? What do you want to build for your user? Well, we didn't know that. But when we introduced the feature lifecycle, these insights started getting this different shape, right? Like at this point, I can tell you, right, today, I can tell you exactly how much we stand to win if we implement this. From the inside, not even in the feature space, right? Not in the function components, but on that inside as well. I have all the links to all the sources. I have clarity on who the customer is, what their freaking use case is, why do they want to rotate the annotation? Why do they want to solve? And then, of course, the body of an insight is very, very impactful and cross-links to absolutely everything. But when it comes to features, this is where I insisted. Y'all went through 1 month onboarding through the onboarding guide that I was there for you. Sit down and manually migrate all of these features from product board into Notion. That was their true onboarding. Because through doing that, in order to make the feature actually good, so that the feature is an actual outcome and not just a button in the corner that does something, they needed to speak to people. They needed to understand the tech. They needed to speak to customers, engage those sales and CS and whomever was submitting the insights in the very beginning to understand it, to articulate the actual scope. So here's a feature before feature lifecycle. I need this functionality. And there's a bunch of conversation. Trust me, that's just a part of the conversation. A lot of it is in Slack, Google Docs, blah, Basecamp. But then feature after lifecycle, that's actually that. On the very right, that's a feature today, that this conglomerate of information, right? Where, we can track everything we want, really. And we can actually prioritize, we can deal with things. Like what you see here is, I can see traction, I can see the reasoning why this is an important feature, what products are in stake. When I go to the actual body, there's even there's clarity of what the scope is, there's acceptance criteria, there's notes about refinement, there's, enablement stuff on every feature, because if we say that every feature is an outcome, this is a bare minimum. So again, they migrated more than 1,000 features from product board to Notion. Then we need to figure out how the hell do we prioritize. Oh, we messed this up. Oof. Initially, well, we didn't mess it up. We did a good job for what we knew at the time, right? Obviously we were like, okay, let's see, consolidated user traction, kind of similar to what product board will call user score or something like that, doesn't matter. Technical value, we need to figure out how valuable is this for us. Does it solve technical depth? Does it do this, does it do that? And there's a bunch of modifiers. I'll talk about them in a second. And there's a bunch of stuff that we said this is not a factor. Like, for example, how much time is it going to take to build this? That doesn't talk about the impact, right? That doesn't talk about the value. That doesn't talk about the outcome. Our rocky road to figuring out this impact score so that we can have a prioritized backlog led us through a lot of complex formula and a lot of bias, because it was like, Notion could support all this. Thank you, Notion. We built this crazy thing. But there was so much bias from the product manager built into it because they had all these modifiers to take care of. Now, how does this align with our roadmap, our strategy? How much of a business case do we have? Very biased, crazy. But it was something because at the end of it, we actually had to prioritize the backlog, and it kind of aligned with our gut feelings. That was kind of cool. So boom, outcome of the assertion phase. 2 out of 3 PMs onboarded. Sorry, number 3 didn't work out. It happens. It's still a good 66%, right? We had a working system because at that point we had multiple product managers working with multiple teams to implement the SDLC, right? And we have centralized everything. It's Notion, single source of truth about absolutely everything. Products, components, capabilities, features, insights, all of it. Boom. Okay, so if you want to evolve now, if you want to take the next step, we need to become a little bit more predictable. How do we do that? Well, first of all, whatever we've built initially, whatever process, whatever prioritization we kind of made up, we now have to battle test it and improve it, right? We need to also improve how we collaborate with stakeholders. Then we need to capture more than just the knowledge about our own products. We couldn't go to customers immediately. We couldn't go to the market because we didn't speak the language. These products are technical, complex, crazy. And if you're not a technical person trying to do product management in this company, you just can't thrive. And obviously, we need to expand. I might have mixed this up. And by the way, I didn't really look at the icons. Let's split these together. Capture and expand is actually very related because the expansion is what I wanted to say when I wanted to talk about getting to a point where we're now talking to customers, not just with our own internal teams, right? But capturing means whatever we learn needs to be captured through a data structure so that we can use it later. How did we improve? Obviously, 2.0 everything, feature lifecycle, simplify freaking everything, screw process, make it simpler, remove overhead, simple, pretty simple. Impact metric 2.0. This was a lifesaver for us because we just simplified everything. We said, okay, all we care about is the traction. It's a bit of a complex definition, but okay, a consolidated traction. We have this one very simple scale of what importance is for us, literally 1 to 3, right? And there's still a bunch of non-factors. And we ended up with this much, much, much simpler metric that we still use today that's actually very, very good because what we do when we prioritize, we look at what's the traction, how many customers / prospects, what do we stand to gain. We have this modifier that we call importance where every product manager needs to clearly explain why this is important. For example, if it's a strategic feature, it is a way for us to put a modifier on low or no traction for something, but we know that it's going to be table stakes in the future because of, for example, market research, because traction is not everything. If you're building only based on traction, you're a feature factory forever, right? Build what customer says, recency bias is what prioritizes. But at this point, we were also in a position to do a snapshot of an actual product strategy. Again, there's always strategy, but if it's not formalized, if you go ask 100 people, they will all give you a different variant of what the strategy is, right? So we actually had a clear vision. We set clear goals that get us to that vision. I can't tell you what it is, sorry. But then we were also able to move to a more complex, more informative roadmap. Hello, enablement to stakeholders. It's still a time-based roadmap, but now we have a much better sense because that SDLC feature lifecycle is running. We are refining stuff, scoping, estimating. We have a much better idea when things are going to land. So you know when a salesperson is on a discovery call or a sales engineer or something, they know that something's coming that could solve the customer problem, that could bring them value, et cetera, et cetera. Marketing knows when to talk about things, prepare for things, et cetera, et cetera. When I say capture, this is a snapshot of 5% of my world. From the left, all the products, all the functional components within products, a bunch of capabilities. I need 15 different monitors to put that in. It's a crazy amount of product initiatives that we do and a crazy amount of product activities that we do. Different product initiative builds value for customers. Product activity is like housekeeping. We do surveys, right? And this is the biggest indicator of like the busy activity change that bringing product management into the company brought. So in 2016, they started pushing insights to product board. At the time of migration, you remember there was something less than 3K, and there was insights and something around 1,100 and something features. This was the growth. So we just exploded in insight collection. We exploded in articulating features, prioritizing backlogs, et cetera, et cetera. Crazy numbers, just crazy. And this happened like in a year, 2 years max. And now comes expansion, probably one of the most important parts, right? We learned the language, we understand the product, now let's understand the freaking customer. Permeate every single call that you can, bug sales to go to discovery calls, listen to go-on-call recordings, go to QBRs, aka quarterly business reviews, assert yourself as a product manager, and you finally get to see, this is for the first time, how our technology is being used in the real world. Why does Box use PSP? What's the value that they bring to Box customers? We're starting to figure that out. Freaking amazing. So, we innovated the STLC, the feature lifecycle. We get a much more well-oiled machine with engineering. We are freaking production, right? A predictable machine that marketing can look at and create a marketing plan, a blog post, you know, the page here and page there, and documentation changes and la la la. The sales can know what's going on. There's a freaking roadmap. We know we're not, you know, Serbian expression, flies without a head, buzzing everywhere. You know, we have a road in front of us. The team is onboarded. The team is well gelled, and we actually operate as a team. Somebody asked me, what kind of a product leader are you? I always answer, I'm a hands-on product leader. I believe that whatever my product managers are doing, I need to be there with them as much as I can, right? So that we actually operate as a team. Somebody goes to a vacation, we actually don't have a problem with that. And outcome 3, the most important one, we are becoming customer-oriented as a product team. Cool. Enablement. This was the most impactful stage business-wise. Let me tell you why. We had 2 new challenges. Now that we know our products, speak the language, we work with the teams very well, we know how to enable the rest of the org, we need to figure out how to enable us, because, yeah, we know the customer, but what about things like win-loss? What about how important different values on a value map are to these customers, right? We just started talking with them, right? And then we need to enable the go-to-market team. Yes, you can say that product is a part of the go-to-market team, but think of it as marketing and sales. We need to empower them first, empower them with all the knowledge that we have collected now, which they didn't have. We need to somehow streamline all that insight and get them to perform better. How do we do that? Well, first of all, we saw that we were missing something. We had no idea who's evaluating our products, and which products are and which products are not being evaluated. Because the way we kind of ascertain this is by looking at which documentation is being browsed, right? How many sales forms, okay, I get it, sales forms, but trial gate. Took me a year to push this through, but we finally got a trial gate, which means now we gave customers some benefits. So you get to remove the watermark, because when you evaluate our stuff, you open a document, for example, in a viewer, there's a watermark that's very annoying. It's what it's supposed to do. But let's say you want to implement something and test it out in your software. You can't do it with the freaking watermark, right? Then you can come to us, start a trial, and actually test it out with a set of customers, whatever. And then you can also kind of extend that trial without talking to sales, which a lot of developers kind of appreciate. But we didn't just confirm what we thought in terms of products, like which products are being evaluated, which ones are not. We also got to learn which use cases in the documents world are prevalent amongst the customers who are actually evaluating our products. Because we ran a survey, we tried, to plant that survey in a strategic place, give it to everyone, make it optional, make it, whatever. We played with it, And we got this data. That was new data. Some of the biases that we had were confirmed, but we also got something new. Then revenue. Okay, this is an important one. There's not much I can say about this, but I'll tell you this. BSPDF Kit sells with bespoke. We have a bespoke pricing model. We're a sales-led org. If you're in product, you know what I'm talking about, right? Bespoke pricing means what ends up in the invoice, in the quote, whatever, is just the final number. But we don't always sell just one product. Remember, we have 20 of them. Sometimes we sell 3. Sometimes we sell 4. Sometimes 6. So if there's just one number, I have no idea which product was sold for which revenue, right? For which price. The salesperson knows. They were playing with it. They have a pricing guide and sheet and whatnot. But I don't. When I go to analyze historical data, I have no idea. Not only that, but the way we sell is you get a product and there's a bunch of functional components that you actually buy. Why? Because obviously, the more you need in terms of functionality, the more value you want to bring to your customers, the more components you have to buy. Classic. But I have no idea which from the sales records, I have no idea which component was sold for how much. Zero clue. Which is amazing. I'm supposed to build these features, but I have no idea if they're going to sell. So what we did was, we sat down with all the stakeholders and created a heuristic that we called value ponder, right? Basically, 1 to 3. How valuable is the component to us? Again, mind you, we already knew our product very well. So we knew these things from the point of complexity to build, complexity to support, time to build. We knew all of that. But now we also started putting in a heuristic about the value of this particular component for customers. To give you a very straight example, we sell these measurement tools, which is like you open a document and you measure stuff in it, you put in a scale, which is very important for the construction industry, but pretty much nowhere else. That's a niche component for us because it brings value which is very hard to obtain on the market. So we put a Ponder 3. So what does this give us? This gave us the ability to export data from Salesforce, import that into the best tool human has ever built, which is spreadsheet, and build crazy reports. What did this give us? Yes, it wasn't accurate, but who cares about accuracy? It was informative. Let me show you how informative it was. I'll pause here for a second. Saw the point of this slide. Sorry. Whoa, stop it. The point of this slide was so you can see how many reports we built, and we did it with these 10 fingers, right? The 3 of us in the team at that point. We were building this manually, crazy stuff. I hate it. I will never do it again. But the insights, you'll see them in a second. So quick pause. Win-loss. Yeah, we defined the value map. We know what value is, but how do we know which value brought us the wins, which values brought us the loss, right? We have no clue. So we need to analyze. How the hell do you analyze this? Well, I'm going to tell you once again, manually. Go read a crap ton of freaking opportunities that we've won, that we lost, and ascertain what the freaking value was. There's no better way for you to know, except if you're smart today and using Gen AI, but we didn't do it then. We were AI non-believers, if you will, idiots. But we did it. We analyzed this manually. We actually figured this out. Okay, we kind of knew better why we win and why we lose. And obviously, through all these troubles, hey, manually migrate product board, manually analyze opportunities. This is so much freaking work. This is stress. The team is a freaking winning team, A team, right? We work together, die together, right? It's an actual, like a world-class sports team, right? And we work very well with the rest of the org. This was in Belgrade, a product and design meetup that we did, which is kind of a bit of a crowning event to our brilliant professional friendship. Yeah, we got some team building there. It was pretty amazing. And obviously, since this is Belgrade, we ate every day meat, even the vegetarians. Sorry. Outcome of this phase. First of all, data, revenue data, win-loss data, and then empowered go-to-market team. You know what we actually did? knowing the product, understanding the customer better, knowing why we win and when we lose, and knowing exactly for how much we've sold every single component of every single product. We could say, hey, sales, dude, takes us this much to build. We are dying on support. We're dying. There's this particular thing, you can find it in two places in the market, us and Adobe. You know how Adobe is expensive. Why are you selling it for peanuts? Why are you selling it for peanuts? We could show, this is what you sold because you knew it. It's time for you to know everything. It's time for you to understand our product offering 100%. Combine that with the kind of training that the sales got on that sales kickoff event that we built, like negotiation training, you know, not selling a pen to a person who's not in the market for a pen, actually enabling that team. You know what the outcome of that is? That's the outcome number 3. 2 historical quarters in PSP Đekic history. And I read an hour ago that Q3 is going to be exactly the same. I intentionally left the to-do here, just to be clear. I have a presentation which doesn't have this to-do, but I didn't send it because I didn't want to send it this late in the game, right? This is the phase that we're in right now, okay? We know the product, we know the customer, well, I kind of know the customer. We know why we win, why we lose, what customers value, la, la, la. What do we don't know? Hey, what happened? Yeah, what do we don't know? Well, first of all, we have a lot of quantitative analysis. We need some more qualitative analysis, right? And second of all, we don't know the market. We don't know the competition that well. See, again, how do I know the customer if I don't understand the space, the language? I need to learn the product. I need to learn the tech. Then I understand the customer. I get the value. Okay, I know what they value. Only now I can talk about competitors because I have a comparison point. Well, not one, but many of them, right? I can compare based on revenue, value map, adherence to certain compliances. Like if you went into the document space, it's an explosion of things. It's so freakishly complex. Accessibility, security, privacy, craziness. So the first thing that we did, this is ongoing, we implemented a qualitative analysis in why we win and why we lose. So our sales, as opposed to putting, loss reason, I don't know, competitor, we now also judge the loss based on that value map that we've previously built that tells us what people care about. This is where Gen AI is absolutely amazing because you can take the communication with the customer, prompt it based on a very carefully concocted prompt, and you get clearly like flags, tags, whatever that you can programmatically put into Salesforce or wherever you're doing your analysis, and you can actually do qualitative analysis as well. This is ongoing. We're still not reaping the benefits of this because we need some historical data first, and we need to figure out how to historically do this for the time where we didn't have this, right? Gen AI will help. Now, as opposed to that freakishly complicated spreadsheet that we used to build manually, we no longer do that. We've built tools that give us real-time revenue trends, and even more than we have had before, because now we no longer do that approximation attribution thing. We have the salesperson put an actual amount when a component is sold, when a product is sold. So we know exactly, we're talking 100% accuracy, how much we've sold a certain thing to a certain customer in a certain industry. And we are just about to complete the initial phase of a very comprehensive competitor research. Again, now that we know what to look at, we actually built these crazy things in Notion where we took that template of what we want to know about competitors and went in and manually did the analysis, completely manually. We are very good at manual, just like laborers, but that's the best way for you to learn. That's what Gen AI can't do for you. It can't teach you. It can give you something cooked, but it can't teach you how to cook. And then today, I can ask Notion AI to tell me literally how to beat my competitor. Trust me, it's pretty on point. Pretty on point. The outcome that we await is Quality in better loss, in win-loss analysis, qualitative. We have already real-time data, but there's more that we need to win, and obviously become a freaking PhD in our competition so that we can differentiate on the market, so that the next strategy that we build is a differentiating one. And this is the future of PSP Đekic product org, integrity. Because all of the things that we've done so far were, iterative evolution, but at some point, we need to stand behind the decisions that we've made and link them directly to business outcomes, which is the whole point of product management. And this is kind of the product org 3.0. There's a clear definition of what we want to achieve. I highlighted only these two things. We need to get better at product discovery, which is very hard in my industry, very hard, because you can't just whip out a prototype UI and send it. There's so much programmatic usage of our code. It's just nuts. People customize, people do things. You just can't do it the standard way. So it's hard. We want to be better at this. And this is one of the principles of Product Org 3.0. This is not the goal. This is a principle. We already became AI fluent. We all do Gen AI very well. But we need to completely productize Gen AI internally in our product management. This is 2025. Thank you for bearing with me through this journey. This is a QR code of my LinkedIn profile or something else of mine. If we have time for Q&A, it's an AMA. Ask me freaking anything. I'll try. If not, your call.
One question. Anyone?
Right, so I have two, possibly three questions, but...
Let's start with the first.
All right. So, first one is, I see that you have a ton of insights, like thousands and thousands. And
you speak louder.
Sorry. Oh, sorry. So I saw that you have like thousands of insights that you eventually, distill into features. And I also saw that you have like different parameters that you rank them. So how did you decide on the granularity? How detailed do you wanna, you don't wanna spend these 1,000 and put them into 3 bags or 30 bags? So how did you decide on a number?
Perfect question. This is why Gen AI will never replace product managers. Because you decide with your freaking gut and experience. And a product manager was not hatched from an egg. They went through a journey before they became a product manager. So it's the gut feeling. Okay, I will spend less time with this insight. I don't care about it. I intuitively know that I need to spend time somewhere else. So obviously, the answer is gut feeling. There's no process.
Insight, but rather the entire category of insights. You know that it's irrelevant. So that leads me to the second question. What percentage of these insights are completely dumped?
A decent percentage, but look, we never dump them. Yeah, we never we never redact them, destroy them, black marker them.
Not considered then.
Not considered? It depends. If I'm policing the product team, 0. If I'm not policing the product team, which is better, and I like that more, probably around 20-25% is like F off.
Irrelevant.
F off. Yeah, like seriously, make the document make me coffee. No, fuck off.
And the third question, how the hell do you make Notion work so well with these complex documents?
Thank you for asking that question. I'll tell you why. Notion is a canvas. Notion is a canvas. And if you know how to paint, you can create absolutely anything. And if you know Claude, that can generate anything from Python to Node.js, whatever, you can build so many automations around Notion and make it a freaking juggernaut of anything you want. I want Notion in my fridge. Thank you for your questions.
I have a question about, so you, here,
I don't see you. Ooh,
here,
sorry.
here.
I see you now.
Agnes, hi.
Ciao.
So I have a question about, you changed through, hold on. So through working within your team, you changed, my gut feeling is that you change a lot of culture also supporting the processes to build a good product, right?
Whoops.
Huh?
Yes,
Yeah?
absolutely.
Yeah?
I mean,
Okay.
it's not us. We might have been the igniter of cultural process change.
Okay.
It just inevitably had to happen.
Had to happen. So my question is, do you plan on changing some additional mindset? Is there something that you still see in the organization that you want to change from the
Yes.
cultural mindset,
Yes,
structures point of view?
yes, yes. Moving from quantitative to qualitative. Revenue is king, but there's lieutenants to revenue that we need to kind of, yeah. But be more data informed. By the way, I hate data driven. I hate that word. I hate that construct. I want to stomp it and kill it. Data informed means having data, but also marrying it with gut feeling. We just need more of that, period. Needs transformation. Sorry, thanks.
I also have a question for that qualitative part, and a lot of this resonated with me quite a bit because I used to work at Small PDF. We were assessing
Hey, I know you.
PDF. Yeah, we were using your product, so I can talk a little bit from the client side of yours, and it really brings me joy that you have moved more towards user research and really understanding your clients from multiple perspectives, because back then we were just churning because nobody was reaching out to us. We knew that some functionalities aren't covered, and we just opted for your competitor
I know.
pretty much. So nowadays, I'm curious, who do you count as a decision maker from your clients? So for example, I, as a designer, I was having countless of user interviews, really figuring out the problems and the needs that they have, but then I was also talking with my PM and with the engineers from my team, and then they were the ones who spiked really your solutions. So who do you see as the biggest decision maker from the companies that use your solutions?
It's a complicated question, so I'll try to approach it like in iterations, right? So first of all, everybody's a stakeholder, in my opinion, because you've been in this space, you know how complex it is. And this knowledge about the space is such an important factor. It's like if we abandoned that and went all, you know, product will figure shit out, it's not gonna work. Product will interview people, no, because if you interviewed people who used to ride horses, if you asked them how do we improve, they would ask for faster horses, not a car, right? So innovation, and you all know this, innovation mostly comes from the heart. It doesn't come that often from signals from the market. It comes from within because you know so much, you build so much inside, and suddenly something happens. So everybody's a stakeholder. Everybody's a stakeholder, period. That's at least from my perspective. Now, when it comes to customers, look, we heard you. We professionalized our customer success, and we are really working hard, and we are hiring developer relations. We're figuring this out. This is a game that needs to be played, and I feel like we've played it, but we haven't been playing it with the right players. It's the same thing with product managers. You always do product management, but sometimes you need that player who knows when to take the shot, and that's hiring specifically for these things. I don't have an answer for you. I can just tell you, in progress, WIP.
Awesome, thanks.
Thank you for being a client.
Hi, me again. My question is, did I hear you right that you said that how much time it needs to build a feature, that it's not relevant for you at all?
No, that's not relevant for the customer.
Okay, okay.
If we say that a feature is an outcome for the customer, they don't care how complicated it is to build. That's when you start making excuses, they will start caring. Thank you for your questions. Have a good one.